In this video, I will show you how to create a walk cycle in Blender 3D. So I will be using the character Lonte from Blender's website, and I will quickly show you how to get him right now. So to get that character, you need to go to studio.blender.org/character. I will have the link in the description. Once you press the link, it will direct you to this website here, Blender's official website. And over here, they have all those characters of their open source videos. So as you can see, Ellie was the most recent one. And I used Lonte, this guy over here. Well, you can use anything you want, anyone. I've seen lots of creators use this one as well. Well, what if you choose which one you want to use, select it, and then you can just download it. And once you download it, you can open its file, and you will see it there. As you can see his walk cycle. As you can see, it looks amazing. We're gonna create something similar to this. Okay, so once you've done that, open your file, and we're gonna start the walk cycle. So once you have imported your character, you need to familiarize yourself with the rig. So we are in pose mode right now, so make sure you're in pose mode. You can then mess around with the options. You can G to grab, and you can see the various things it can do to his face. We're not gonna touch his facial expressions, but you can mess around. As you can see, if we move this, you can close his eyes, etc., like that. But we're not gonna do anything really with his eyes. Well, you can make him blink or something, but we're gonna focus on the walk cycle, which is gonna be mainly his arms and legs. So, first of all, we are going to be mostly using the IK bone over here. This is the IK bone, the green one. IK bone here, and the foot IK over here. So, first of all, we are going to create the first pose of the walk cycle. So we are going to be using the timeline. We're going to be using the timeline over here, and our frame is going to be 1 to 24, because one walk cycle is going to be about 1 second. That's going to be 24, and then you can just loop it, and that's going to be fine. So our first pose is going to be one foot is going to be in front, the other is going to be at the back, and one hand is going to be at the front, and the other's going to be at the back. So we're going to select the IK bone of the foot and move it forward like that, and the other one going to be about here. You can rotate it as well. Now, first of all, we need to you Shift A, go back into object mode quickly, Shift A, and add a plane, because we need to see the floor, because then it's very good, because we need to see the floor, obviously. So select the armature again and go into pose mode, and grab this and make sure it's like this. Rotate it like that. It's going to be the first pose, and this one is going to be like that. This one's not going to be touching the floor. I'm going to keep it like this, and don't make sure it's not hyper extended. I'm just going to keep it so it just bends in the edge. So this point, make sure it's slightly bent like that, and it needs to be touching the floor. Now, obviously, if it's hyper extended too much, you can just go back into object mode and move this up a bit like that, and then just go back into the pose mode of the armature. So that is going to be our first pose for the legs. Now we are just going to do the hands. So if the right foot is at the back, then the left hand is going to be at the front. Okay. No, I mean, yeah, no. If the right foot is at the back, then the opposite hand needs to be at the back as well. So we're gonna get this IK bone of the hand and move it at the back, and then rotate it like that. Move it. rotate it so it's clear like that. Now that is looking good. I wanted to make it a bend a bit and make sure it's not going inside his bag that much. So that is at the back looking good. I want to exaggerate his walk cycle because he's kind of like a miss. He's kind of like annoying character if you've watched his open movie, short movie. So this is going to be at the front now. Move it over here like that. Rotate his hand like that. And then his IK bone is going to be like that. So as you can see, we have made the first pose and that looks amazing. So once we have done that, we're going to select the armature in pose mode, select the whole armature, select A to select every single bone, and I to add that keyframe. So once you do, at the end of the keyframe, at frame 24, we're going to shift D and duplicate and move it here. Because in a looping walk cycle, the first pose and the second pose are going to be the same. Now in the middle, at frame 12, we're going to move it around over here. The bones are going to be, so the pose is going to be flipped. So this hand's going to be at the back, this hand's going to be at the front, and the foots are going to be swapped. So we're going to quickly do that here. So we're just going to get this, move it. First of all, we're going to move this over here and match it to over here. So grab that, move it like that, rotate it, and maybe go on to into side view, grab, rotate like that. And as you can see, it's directly matching. I do the same for this hand and move it there, rotate like that. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to go on the opposite side. So minus is going to be control 3, and then we're just going to grab this, move it back like that, and then move this at the front. So that looks amazing. May want to, I need to move this up a bit like that. That looks good. Maybe you want to spend more time with the hands and the posture, and it just depends on how your character is walking. If it's taking very, very big steps, meaning he's a bit angry, small steps, he's calm, etc., etc., it's your choice. After you have done that, select A and I to add that keyframe. Now if you scrub around, as you can see, if we play this, it is looping. As you can see, this is happening. Now we need to add the keyframes between these two poses, okay? So now we have done the basic frames of the walk cycle. Now we're gonna just put some keyframes in between those keyframes so we can make it more realistic, and so that it just doesn't be like that. As you can see, it's just floating in the air and it doesn't look very good. So we're gonna fix that right now. So once we're gonna focus on this foot, okay, this foot right here. So it just goes here, but we want it to rise. So at this frame 3, we're gonna move it a bit up like this, a bit of a lift. I'm just going to add a keyframe. I add a keyframe. So now it moves up and then it moves across. And now when it touches the floor, it's supposed to touch the floor here. At frame 13, we're going to rotate it and grab it and move it down like that. And add that keyframe. So now when it goes, it raises its foot, goes across normally. Then when it reaches over here, it rotates it. Now that I think we need to move this frame up at 14 because it happens so suddenly. Now it will go touch the floor, and then at frame 16, we're going to rotate it and make it touch the floor like this. add that keyframe. Now, as you can see, when it goes, rotates, then at frame 16, it will touch the floor. Now, as you can see, it goes under the floor. So it does at frame 15, we're just going to move it a bit up like that and add that keyframe. So like that. And then at frame 17, rotate it, move it up. I add that keyframe. So we're just going to clean everything up. And as you can see, at frame 20, it is a bit up. So I'm going to just rotate it like that. I add that keyframe. And then it goes across. And then the walk cycle ends. So as you can see, this is happening. As you can see, this is very good. Now it is a bit more smooth, I shall say. Now, as you can see, since it's looping, it's a bit but as you can see, we made it very, very better. We can add more keyframes to make it more smooth, but I think it should be good enough. Well, you can spend more time on this and spend on the key elements. Now I'm gonna do this foot now. Now let's quick look at this foot. So select the bone of that foot. So we're gonna start from where it goes up. So at frame 12, we're gonna start. So at frame 14, I'm gonna say 14, you're gonna grab it up like that and make sure it is straight. Then add that keyframe. So it raises its foot, moves across, and then at frame 19, it should rotate and touch that floor like this. And I add that keyframe. And then from 24, it should be the same, so about there. And just override that keyframe. So as you can see, it's moving, then it touches the floor, and then now let's just quickly see what's gonna happen. So at frame 1, when it loops, want it to touch the floor and make it rotate a little bit, and override that keyframe, and then it slides across. And as you can see, when it slides across, we want it to touch the floor. I add that keyframe, so like that. As you can see, it touches the floor. Make it like that. I have to add that keyframe, so it goes across. And then at frame 11, just move it up a bit. Maybe rotate it, move it up, and make sure it doesn't touch the floor. And I have to add that keyframe. So as you can see now, it's moving across and raises up and then moves like that. And that is very, very good. Now look at that, we have made the simple movement of the foot, and that looks amazing. Now as you can see right now, this upper part of the body over here and the head are just stationary. That's why it just looks weird, but we are going to quickly fix that. So we are going to animate his torso bone, because if we rotate it on the y-axis, it moves his head as well, as you can see, and his upper body like that. So as you can see on keyframe 1, when his right hand is at the front, we're going to move his torso bone to the left. We rotate it on the y and move it like that, only just a little bit, and add a keyframe. So select I and then move it to keyframe 2 and rotate it the opposite way like that, and I add the keyframe and do the same thing over here. Rotate it on the Y, rotate, and make sure it doesn't go through his bag like that. If it goes a little bit, it doesn't really matter, because we need to make it look good. Now if we look at that, that looks amazing. Now as you can see, it's going through his bag, but you can fix that by yourself, so it doesn't really matter. So as you can see, that looks amazing. Now as you can see, you're probably thinking, why is he moving on his spot? I'm wanting to move like, actually like move. So it's very, very simple. So you're just going to select his armature. So go into object mode. At frame 1, he is going to be here, okay? Just I to add that keyframe. And then when he moves across keyframe 12, he is going to be able to move like a step. So it's going to like put your finger on the screen and move him across and like move a bit across like this, and then you can like mess around with it. And now as you can see, like that. Did you see that? That looks amazing. Like that. And then we do the same thing for keyframe, other keyframe. So go to 24, move him up a bit. So move him across and make sure you make it like the same increments the way you move it, so he doesn't take big steps. So if I scrub across, did you see that over here? He would literally like flying, as you can see. So over here, I'm going to have to move it a bit back and add that keyframe, and that looks okay. So as you can see, it's moving forward. Now, if you want him to move like a longer distance, then you can just increase the end frame to about like 48, duplicate his keyframes, and allow him to move more further. And that is how you would create a walk cycle in Blender.